camera is on.
Welcome to Nights at the Round Table, a round table discussion on speculative fiction books and film.
Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of Nights at the Round Table. With me is Frechétte of webcomics, writing, publishing, a real Renaissance person. I mostly wanted to make that pun. We are talking about the seminal classic, The Mist, an adaptation of Stephen King by Frank Darabont, which you may know from The Walking Dead more recently, or Shawshank Redemption, or The Green Mile.
Seminal?
Yeah, I know. Let's start with opening impressions. Caroline?
Eh.
Eh.
A very resounding eh.
I'm kind of a Stephen King junkie. So I've
I'm
watched
not.
almost every Stephen King adaptation. I've read most of his older library, except The Green Mile, which I really need to. No, that's Green Mile. The Stand, which no. The Gunslinger series, which I haven't read yet, which I really need to. And this is Stephen King done a la Walking Dead. This is a Stephen King scenario. Small town, Maine, pressure cooker with a bunch of people of different kinds, the crazy religious person, the wacky sci-fi fantasy stuff going on, but with the overwhelmingly depressing tones of the director and writer, Frank Darabont, and the complete lack in humanity. Stephen King has very little love for humankind, but there is always one or two characters who are shining examples of what people can be. Usually it's a minority or a disabled person or someone who has no right whatsoever to be the shining light of humanity because they've been beat on so much. That wasn't in here.
Nope.
This was a genuinely terrifying movie for both the monsters and the people. But it missed any optimism. No optimism in this movie at all. There's even a scene where everyone basically shits on humanity one after the other, and the school teacher's like, "Oh, come on, it's not that bad. I'm an innocent school teacher who knows nothing about evil."
I remember that.
The children, of course she knows about evil.
Yeah.
And the movie then goes on to prove in every possible way how wrong she is, that there is some hope for humanity.
Mm-hmm.
There are some interesting parts, Stephen King-ish, like the religious zealot. And
that was interesting. There was a couple of things.
The psychology behind it. Also the exploration of PTSD.
Yeah.
Where people, in a lot of horror movies, people get attacked, their friends get eaten, they get limbs chopped off, and they just keep going and make a snarky joke a la Army of Darkness, which is a great genre, but not always
appropriate.
Most realistic or appropriate. Yeah. In this, people were genuinely terrified.
Yeah, no, this I could appreciate out of this.
And the understanding of human stupidity was also there. Yeah. Like with the first scene where the guy's like, "I'm going to go outside. No, it's dangerous." "Oh, come on. Let the kid do it." And then the kid dies. They're like, "Oh, we didn't know. We're so sorry. But I told you."
Right.
We thought you were lying. Yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple of things that I did enjoy. The soldier guy's character was good. And the whole kind of opposition of like, he is the one soldier guy there, but he's also not the one who's going like all up in arms and let's do this and let's fight and blah, blah.
He's a young soldier,
Yeah, and he's like in a position where he doesn't really want to be there, and he feels kind of responsible, and at the same time, he's kind of powerless. So that was an interesting dynamic.
I liked the three sides of the same coin. So there is the crazy religious zealot who is preaching that we must, what was it?
Repent?
No, she wanted to sacrifice people.
Oh, yeah.
Expatiate, I think, was the word of the day.
Something like that. It's been a while since I've seen the movie.
So she was all about, God has done this to us. See, monsters, that proves it. Well, there was the other group who were like, monsters, we should do something.
Yeah.
And then there's the third group who's like, you're all lying and full of it. There's no such thing as monsters. It's just mist. Don't worry about it. Let us out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so they've got like this super skeptical, the super religious, and then the practical. It's a good balance.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see, because a lot of movies will either show the science side as completely idiotic or completely right all the time.
No, I really honestly felt that this movie went in all sorts of different directions because, bottom line, it was extremely nihilistic.
Yes, that's a perfect description of the movie. It was fatalistic and nihilistic. Basically, the idea was everyone was going to die. That's what they... But that's not the movie. That's the characters.
Yeah.
The majority of the characters were convinced that everyone was going to die and it didn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Which hurts my optimistic soul. Anyone who's watched these knows that I'm the optimist. I love good triumphing over evil. I like it, the positive ending. Even if it's a little sad.
You didn't get that here.
No.
Yeah, for me, it felt a little bit like, well, why did I spend, I don't know, 2 hours, 3 hours of my life watching this pile of shit that is basically saying, well, humanity isn't worth it. Even the good people will do horrible, horrible things, so whatever. And basically, that was the premise, and that was validated by the ending, and I was like, well, okay, fine. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of humanity. I'm optimistic. I have children. I raised them to believe that there is good in the world, and I profoundly believe that there is a lot of good in the world, and that humankind is capable of a lot of good. But I'm also, a minority, and I see a lot of the underbelly of humanity, which is vastly wrong and evil and all that. And I really don't need to be reminded to that extent.
Yes, there's a lot of things that the movie brings up that it then automatically shoots down. So the lawyer being logical shoots down. I really like this. There's a scene in the bathroom where the school teacher is going in and is like, excuse me, to the religious person who's praying to God in the stall. Can I use the washroom? And the religious person looks sad. So the school teacher, being the only person in this movie that I would say is a nice person, offers, if you ever need anyone to talk to, I'm there. And the religious person spews venom, not literally, sorry, horror movie, and goes, people like you sicken me. How dare you talk down to me about my faith? I talk to God, and that's all I need. You're a bitch. And then the whole rest of the movie, she treats her horribly. I mean, yes, obviously this person was deranged, and scary how much people followed. Kind of a good
but it wasn't
commentary on current politics.
Absolutely. But, and like the whole like God is doing this to punish us for our sins, like,
yeah, the vengeful God thing never makes sense to me.
Maybe,
but it is.
But it's a constant of like.
But the painting the vengeful God, lover, wrathful person in a negative light is a trope in Stephen King. You will always find the priest, the religious person.
Absolutely is.
Because I think it's because Stephen King lives in the States, in some rural town, and I remember living in a rural town, and it's very similar. You always have that one person who will rile up everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. There's a line of something about, it's amazing what you can get people to do if you make them scared enough. And I was like, oh, that is so nihilistic, but true.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I want to like this movie. It's visually stunning. It's filmed really well. Special effects haven't held up very well, but it's 10 years old.
Yeah.
There are some subplots that are brilliant. Like, it makes sense to have the black guy who's a lawyer, who's from out of town, expect people to prank him. And when you're talking about a tentacle monster attacking a store, well, duh.
Yeah, you're gonna think like, that's
you're pranking me.
Ridiculous.
But they take it. They take it so far, and they don't explore it any more than that.
No, that's it. Is they present ideas and then they knock them down, and that's pretty much what the whole movie was.
Yeah. I love the style, like that genre of movie, the pressure cooker, supernatural.
Me too.
And sometimes the Stephen King adaptations are brilliant.
Yeah.
This one was too angry for my taste.
Yeah,
too
it was
upset with humanity. It really shows why I'm not a big fan of the writer-director.
Yeah.
Who, again, I've watched a few episodes of Walking Dead, and I find it's got the same feel. The same negative view on all of humanity. Which is weird, because I found Green Mile had a very optimistic view in some ways.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's...
but no, for me, that entire movie was all about, like... Nothing you do ever matters, so why even try?
Yeah. We can start discussing arguably the worst part of the movie, the ending. Spoilers. At the end, the main character, and all the other adults are in a car, and they're trying to drive as far south as their gas tank will go, which I'll get to nitpicking in a second, to try to pass the mist. The four adults realize there's only... four adults and the kid. They realize there's only 4 bullets in the gun when the car breaks down, and that they are going to die horribly through acid-spitting spiders or giant things, being eaten alive, whatever. Yeah. And without saying anything, they look at each other, they look at the gun, there's a little bit of confusion in one of their faces, and then, yes, of course. So, they're like, but there's only 4 bullets, and the guy's like, I'll have to make do. So he shoots his 8-year-old son, his new girlfriend, the school teacher, who basically I thought was his wife when I first saw it, because I wasn't paying attention enough.
She's his new girlfriend, because, how could he possibly go on 15 minutes after leaving his wife at home?
Yeah. And then 2 older people who had cool lines in the movie. So he shoots them all, walks out of the car, and starts doing the overacting, no, why? Very Star Wars Episode 3.
And then the rescue trucks come, and the mist is gone,
starts clearing, the big, And to really punch it home, one of the trucks has a bunch of survivors, which are kids in it.
I'm sorry, one of the trucks has a bunch of survivors who were the original people who walked out of the shop
really?
At the beginning. Yes.
I hadn't seen them.
Yeah. Oh. No, I remember that, and going like, really? Whatever.
Yeah. So the movie proved multiple times that if you leave the store into the mist, you're probably going to get killed by various different bugs from another dimension. And then the people who ran out, the skeptics, somehow survived.
Yeah.
They had no plan, no weapons, no vehicle, but somehow they survived.
Also, I'm sorry, but if you're a parent and
you do everything you fucking can to, pardon my language, to make sure your kids live.
Yeah, seriously. And you don't just like, oh, well, I just ran out of gas. I'm gonna shoot my kid. Are you fucking kidding?
They passed buses, cars.
Yeah.
Huge freeways. They knew they were running out of gas. They could have siphoned from one tank to the other.
Absolutely.
Like, have you never watched a disaster movie? Ever? There was no reason for them to die.
Yeah, absolutely none.
Other than the director really, really wanting that ending.
Yep.
Story time. The director wrote the script. He adapted it from the novel, and he wrote and he directed. He forfeited his directing money. So he rejected a $30 million paycheck in order to keep the ending. Mm-hmm. Because he said it was exactly the perfect explanation of humanity. I'm sorry. I don't mind they all die at the end, but they all give up at the end?
Yeah, no.
That is wrong.
It's not just that they give up, it's that they give up so fast. Like, you don't even have time to be hungry or thirsty at this point.
They gave up before they left the store.
Yeah.
When they shot the religious person in the head out of vengeance, sorry, the religious person was attacking them. You can't leave the store. God will be angry. So one of them shoots her in the head because he had to. Yeah. Because this little 5'8" religious crazy person couldn't just be punched in the nose and you walk out. Anyway, so it was nihilistic to an extreme that makes me uncomfortable and, in my opinion, is not representative of Stephen King's writing. Stephen King's writing, even in his most depressing, nihilistic ones, like The Shining, the book, which is way more depressing than the movie.
Yeah.
There are more characters who live.
Yeah.
And who live well.
Yeah.
He has an optimistic streak. If it wasn't for the ending, this movie might have been okay.
Yeah, it might have been okay. It might have been kind of like the kind of B movie that I watch once and promptly forget about and whatever. But because of the ending, it was like, wow, that movie was stupid.
It made me think of The Fog. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
That's an older... it's a movie by the guy who did The Thing and...
John
Carpenter. And they remade it later. But it's the same premise. Small town. And there's a fog that comes in. But it makes people crazy.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a cute movie. But it's imminently forgetful.
Yeah.
Forgettable.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the highlight for me of this movie, the best part of the movie was the first 30 seconds where, because the main character is an artist, he's painting movie posters. And the movie poster he's painting is the Dark Tower, the gunslinger. Mm. And in the background, you see John Carpenter's The Thing. You see 5 or 6 posters all painted by the same famous artist who really exists.
Yeah.
Who repainted them for this movie. That was...
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I remember that part.
Yeah. It just... I am not the right audience for nihilism.
Me neither.
I'm the person who gave up on Daredevil because I found it too depressing.
Yeah, but even so, like, this is not just nihilism. It's only
Futurism.
Nihilism.
Yeah.
It's like...
There is no hope in this.
Yeah. It's
even the Borg have more hope.
It's nihilistic masturbation. That's what it is. Like, seriously.
You said those words, and an author's name came to my head.
Oh?
Ayn Rand. Oddly, I must be conditioned.
I have obviously no opinion on this.
There were some good actors. There was some okay acting. There was some the filming crew for this was fantastic.
It was
they stole the filming crew while the show The Shield was on break, and they filmed completely in 36 days with that crew.
Wow.
Because they were used to fast-paced, quick, switching around action. And if you watch the camera work, it's spectacular.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of times where I was so depressed about the content that I just watched the camera work.
Yeah.
And that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything you hated more than the ending of this movie?
No, honestly, I was not a fan of this movie.
I don't know, you said you watched it a while ago.
Yeah.
I have a child, but she's very young. Was the portrayal of the boy... Basically, the entire movie, he felt like an accessory.
Yeah.
And that usually pisses me off.
Like...
Because he's... Oh, keep him safe! And then at one point, the monster's coming, and he's like, Daddy, Daddy! Watch me be fodder for a monster!
Honestly,
I have
a 4-year-old who acts more mature than that, so...
He was really immature and basically spent the entire movie curled into a little ball. And I'm not sure that's realistic for kids. I feel like the guy's like, yeah, there's a kid in the story, but I don't want him to do anything.
Yeah, well, I felt like he didn't know anything about children, so he really...
Which, again, is really frustrating, because a lot of Stephen King's writing has children in it, because he has 4, and he knows how they react, especially intelligent children.
Yes.
Because maybe that's the issue with this child, is that he wasn't very imaginative.
No,
and so he shut down when his worldview was different.
He was a prop. He was a prop. And honestly, I think this does a lot to explain the ending, that the director knew nothing about children or knew nothing about parenting either.
The only reason was to have that. I do know I needed a really big hug from my daughter after this movie, the ending.
Yeah, me too.
Is there, anything redeemable that you can remember?
Not really, honestly. Like, I spent the whole movie rolling my eyes. I think I saw my brain at some point.
Is there, this is theoretical as a writer, is there any world situation where you can imagine a parent doing that?
Yes. If my child has been cut in half in a disgusting accident and he is for sure dying and he's in great, great, great amounts of pain and there is nothing else I can do.
So you can't imagine any situation where you think the world is ending and you just save them pain, fully healthy.
As long as I am breathing, I will protect them from this pain. And if, I can't see me shooting my kid in the head.
Not just you, but characters. Like,
no, but even me, anybody, anybody. I can't imagine anybody shooting their children in the head out of love.
Sorry. That sounds like a bad X-Files episode.
No, but seriously, I can't imagine a parent shooting their children in the head out of love when you haven't exhausted every single possibility, when you haven't put your own life at risk to go siphon gas from somewhere else, to go find food, to go find shelter, to do anything at all.
Okay.
I
completely agree. I just thought I would ask. I mean, the psychological repercussions afterwards could be interesting.
Yes.
On the character.
Absolutely. And I can imagine a character being so struck by depression, like it happens in postpartum depression when you are so absolutely... But that's a particular condition that happens over a long time. And honestly, spending half a day in a store with monsters is not enough to develop depression.
I think it was a day and a half, but yes, you're right.
Whatever how long it was. That's not how it happened.
The Earth was being invaded by giant monsters that exuded fog for some reason. The audience is making shooting motions.
Yeah.
I don't think you quite understand. It was actually like somewhere bigger than Parliament.
Yeah, yeah. Like...
Yeah. That was one thing that kind of surprised me. They're like, we're going to go as far as we can.
Yeah.
I'm like, why aren't you going for the military base?
Pretty much, eh?
Like, you have mentioned there's a military base. Yes, it might have started there, but they have weapons. And probably bunkers.
Yeah.
And air scrubbers and food and trained soldiers.
Oh, yeah. No, honestly, there are so many, glaring flaws in this movie. I just,
It shows, especially after reading about the director giving up his salary for the ending, that everything he had the ending, and he based the movie around that.
Pretty much.
I am looking forward to reading the novella to see how it actually ends.
Yeah. I'm not. I'm just done with this story.
Yeah. So, star rating?
Is there a lower than 1?
0?
0?
I think this is the first 0 we've ever had. No? Oh, yeah. This is the first 0 I want to remember. This movie was a little less hateful than that book, Battlefield Earth.
Oh. Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 2 because it had some tiny little redeeming qualities. But if you know me, I'm very generous, and a 2 is not good. So
yeah, I tend to be extremely generous, but nope. No.
So, you want to pick the next one? The next movie is... Can you read Sonia's writing?
Kimi no Na wa.
Nice! That is a...
It's an anime from 2016.
Okay. I will not butcher the name. And, well, that's it for today's episode. Please remember to like and subscribe and comment if you think we're completely full of shit.
And vote for us for the Auroras.
Yes. Thank you. Bye. everyone. Well, let's try.